Good morning and welcome. You're still watching Power Breakfast right here on Citizen TV. It's that time when we take a look at the issues behind the big headlines. This morning, of course, the big stories have to do with that Ruaraka land scandal. The fact that Langata Beauty Queen 2016 has been sentenced to the death penalty, reintroducing the debate on whether or not that death penalty should still be applicable in this day and age. NASA politics as well. Are they quitting? Are they staying? Who are we talking about? As well as the politics that has been introduced. Very curious politics, and we'll be listening to some of the comments made with regard to Mao evictions by some of MPs who visited the area yesterday. This morning, we're privileged to have for our news review Martha Wangari, MP Gilgil. Karibu sana.
Good to be back.
Yes. Kipruto Rapkirwa, Deputy Party Leader, ANC.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. John Kaguchia, Speaker, County Assembly of Mary.
Thank you. Good morning.
And definitely last but not least, a man who's been very busy hosting the former President of the United States, Samtani MP Alegu Songa. Let's start from there. How was it that you got to host President Barack Obama? How was the feeling?
It was mixed feelings. My voters and myself were not really at the center of the event, and so they were left unhappy. But of course, the function went successfully.
Yes.
Yes.
But there's still murmurs about...
yes, of course there were murmurs because...
President Barack Obama did not get to wave.
Yeah, I did not get to speak to our people and to wave to our people. And Mheshimiwa Wangari is being cheeky. Yes, so I think next time we will advise the people involved in such functions to consult more.
Because it would have been easy, according to what we had, most of those people saying you should just have boarded an open-top vehicle and waved and said, habari yenu, habari yenu, and people would have been satisfied.
Yes, that's true. Yeah? That's true. So I think there are lessons to learn. We believe the people in charge will do it better next time.
But he came as a private citizen this time.
Either way, I mean, there were
when he came as president of the US, again he said that he was limited, you know. But now we didn't see why he was limited again as a private citizen, as our son actually.
The expectations were definitely higher this time round.
Yes, maybe he promised to come back.
Well, there was no other promise, but if at all he comes back.
There were many complaints.
In fact, if he comes back and there is no sufficient consultation, he will not get even people to wave to. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, there were even complaints that Michelle never come to the in-laws, that they are taking it very personal. Yes. That she never comes to see the in-laws.
No, that was social media. That was Kenyan social media. But as people from Kogelo, we didn't have such an issue.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm happy Governor Rasanga stood his ground and refused to be frisked.
Yes. That was even me. I was not frisked. I refused.
You refused as well.
Yes.
Okay. Well, those are matters that are now past. Water under the bridge. Back to today's headlines. Big headlines. Teachers win big in new job structure. Scheme establishes 68 pay grades for tutors in primary, secondary, middle level colleges and special schools following recommendations by Salaries Commission. The story is on page 6. We will not dwell much on that. The other big headline on the front page of the Standard has to do with the Homa Bay Governor Cyprian Awiti losing his seat. What will he do next? Will he move to the Supreme Court like others have done before him? Of course, the governor for Machakos, Alfred Mutua, has moved to the Supreme Court to challenge the nullification of his election by the Court of Appeal. Will Governor Cyprian Awiti do the same? On the front page of the Daily Nation this morning, 1.5 billion shillings Cityland scam claims its first casualties. Police swoop on 4 businessmen in a dramatic dawn raid on their Nairobi homes, confiscating documents, computers, cash in millions of shillings and top-of-the-range vehicles as investigations into how a public plot was sold gain speed. Now, this is one of the biggest talking points this week, and we'll be coming to that to discuss even the involvement of cabinet secretaries and other senior government officials. According to reports by the ESCC, what will President Kenyatta do now that people very close to his administration have been mentioned? But I want us to start off with the other story that's on the front page of the Daily Nation, and that's the fact that Miss Langata prison winner 2016 has been sentenced to death. Ruth Kamande was yesterday sentenced to death for stabbing her boyfriend to death back in 2015. She stabbed him 25 times. Yes? This has reignited the debate surrounding the death penalty because we're made to understand that the hangman we talk about this hangman, but we do not have a hangman. That means that anyone sentenced to death just spends life in prison. Whether or not that's humane, for you to be sentenced to death, then you just have to live in limbo, not knowing what happens next. This definitely reintroduces a debate. I don't know in Parliament, if at all that debate is still alive, whether or not we should still have the death penalty.
Thank you, Indimuli. And maybe before I comment on that, allow me to touch on the teachers. And I think it's quite critical because we may think it's not a major headline, but I think it's a major boost for teachers in this country. But more importantly, the numbers in terms of hiring, we must really allocate more money. I think everyone here who is a member of Parliament knows that the biggest cost, even when we say education has become free, people still pay teachers, and you have to hire teachers who are TSC qualified. It's not working. The reclassification for hardship areas, I know like my place is quite tough because we don't retain teachers. You're posted in a place like Thugonoi, I don't know that you've ever heard Thugonoi, in Gilgil. Within 2 days, people look for transfers to get out of that place because first of all, the water, it's crazy, it's a hardship area. So I think TSC should really look to into the numbers. And to the beauty queen, I know most people have looked at the online debate and people are saying she's too beautiful to die. But I think for me, it's she's a beautiful criminal and it can't be gainsaid.
Yes.
You know, by the time you stab someone 25 times, you didn't even have to think 25 times. If it were 2, maybe you'd say it was a moment, but 25 times. I think the judge was very categorical that these issues of crimes of passion, we are witnessing them every day. Some of us have lived them, and it's very easy to kill someone. Why don't you just walk away? And I think it is a lesson, because you kill someone's son, you kill someone's father or someone's uncle. It is a family that will never be the same by the taking of that life. And I think the issue of life or rather death sentence is just the maximum you can give. And I think even when the judges apply it, is that we have looked at life, it's not even sufficient. It's almost a life for a life. But I think legally,
the fact that
it never happens.
Yes.
It never happens. It actually just goes for life in prison. And I think personally, my personal opinion is that it's really outdated. I don't think we really will get back to the hangman ever at all. We'll not in this 21st century. So we might as well expunge it from our laws and from the penal code.
Is it simply a matter of killing you in your mind, that I've been sentenced to death, but we will not kill you, we'll just wait until you die of natural causes? Surely, is that humane? Because even this person still has rights, is still alive. Elsewhere where the death sentence is prescribed, you're given a time frame that, yes, we sentenced you to death, and in a matter of months, that death sentence is actually carried out. In Kenya, we leave you to stay for years knowing that I've been sentenced to death.
Yeah, thank you, Fred. I think that is the extreme the law provides. But I just want you to understand that any form of restriction away from the people you love, away from normal social interaction, is punitive enough. One time I was in hospital for 42 days, and you feel that you've been restricted so much that you want just to get out and get some fresh air. So any form of restriction, whether it's 1 year, whether it's 10 years, or whether it's for life, is punitive. It makes you feel totally isolated, and at times it makes you even think deeper into your own life and even reflect on a number of things. But more important on this particular issue is we should not look at it in isolation. This is the way our society has been built, such that if I disagree with the speaker here, or Mheshimiwa Wangare, I think of the going for extreme instead of having some other ways of mediating the issue. It is something that sociologists and psychologists should assist our society to redeem itself, because you've seen whatever happens, we go for the extreme. Whether it is banning of schools, whether it is dealing with issues like the Mau forest or any other thing, we go for the extreme because our society is full of vengeance, is full of hate, is full of differences, and is also laced with a lot of hate. That is what worries me more than this issue of this young girl. It's unfortunate. She has to be restricted from meeting the rest of society, but it's something that worries me.
Yes, but do you think it's high time we revisit the issue of death sentence in our laws? That we have this prescription of a death sentence that we do not carry out. Yes. Yet we use it.
Indeed, we should actually revisit. More often than not, you will find the president commuting the death sentence into life in prison. And there are many things. First, constitutionally now, nobody should actually take any person's life. And biblically as well. And I'm sure even other religions actually, which do not use Bible, they also prescribe to that. And you find that as far as taking someone's life, really, that should be only God who should do that. But there's also another aspect into it. Once you have been isolated, and once you have been given a death sentence, in the prison, you are also then isolated and kept aside. And for that reason, you cannot mix with other prisoners, and you know you are treated very differently. That also means that you can also be, you can't be engaged in other economic activities. You cannot be trained in anything. Like now, this lady, you can see already, she has been doing paralegal training, and
so
then
that ends.
That ends, and of course, she has also been a beauty queen. So I don't know in this case whether she's still a hardcore criminal or a softcore criminal. You know, with this kind of death sentence now, she cannot be trained on anything else. She cannot be of any use to anyone because she's only kept somewhere now waiting to die. Now you see, the difference with that is other people who are in prison, they are used to make furniture. They are trained. There is a bit of corrective measures that are taken to ensure that they are corrected and they are restored back to normalcy once they are actually out of jail. So it's good to reconsider that, so that we stop also feeding prisoners whom we know very well that at the end of the day they are just becoming a burden to the economy. If this lady can get into the mainstream activities of the prison, there's still some kind of economic activity that will still be done. She will still be useful in one way or another. But
once it's commuted to life in prison, and then she rejoins the life
she rejoins the other prisoners, and instead of now waiting for the hangman, who will never appear at all. And many countries, you realize, they have also dropped that aspect of hanging their citizens. Probably only the former communist countries are still practicing this kind of practice. And of course, others are also very active, like I think North Korea. They're still very active in some of these. Yeah, but again, they have their own special issues. So I think as a country, we need to reconsider this, and we need to change nowadays into life in prison, and so that we can have these people engaged in other activities as well.
Wanasama Tandi, you also have very strong feelings with regard to this death penalty.
I think I disagree with my colleagues that we should do away with this this in the law. The death penalty should be maintained, in my view, because since the promulgation of the new constitution, I think our constitution is very liberal, and because of that, you see, Kenyans are aware that it's too liberal. You can even commit a crime of murder, and you can get away with it because the law provides that you cannot be hanged, you cannot pay for it. So, in my view, I think for us to be able to move forward and be able to, for Kenyans to know that some of these offenses are unnecessary, you don't need to commit them. Let us be hard. Let us be hard on this. Let's punish. Let people know that if you murder, you are a fellow human being, you will also be murdered.
Don't you think that life imprisonment serves the same purpose?
It doesn't.
Just pronouncing death.
No, it doesn't, because you are alive, and you enjoy the privileges of life.
Also, you actually suggest that we actually carry out.
We need to find a way of carrying out murder. Let us find a way. Let us hang people, because, like, you see, we have a progressive constitution, and each and every day people continue to commit crimes. Things like corruption, things like murder, they're just going on, because people know at the end of the day, the worst that can happen to you is that you will be told to stay in prison for your life. And again, there's this thing about presidential pardon. Some of these people, they get away with it. Sometimes you find that this person will be pardoned by the president at some stage, and at that stage, he gets out and he begins his life. So I think it is very unfair for some of these people who are committing these offenses, that they will get away with it at some stage.
Should we reintroduce the hangman?
Actually, I disagree totally, because we would maybe if we didn't have a constitution. But the way the constitution is, and it is a supreme law of the land, you cannot go against the right of life. It is guaranteed in the constitution. You cannot just decide to open a shooting spree because you've decided people are corrupt. You parade them in Uhuru Park and shoot them. Our laws do not allow it, by the way. It just doesn't. And in fact, every other law, even including the penal code, will be lower than the constitution. If we have to have the hangman, we have to review the constitution, we have to have a referendum and change the law. But the way it is, it does not allow. We may want to play around with it because it sounds good as a deterrent, but the way the law is structured does not allow a hangman.
Yet we still have it as part of our sentences, sentenced you to death. Then probably, if we are not doing away with that kind of sentence, we should probably reintroduce the hangman.
No, I think the problem is that we are looking at it from two dimensions. You know, in terms of ethics, there is the moral aspect and the punitive aspect. I think Mheshimiwa is going the punitive aspect, that you punish the crime. And we are looking at it morally, that the issue is our society. Because the character of an individual is reflective of the character of that society. And therefore, I'm looking at it that we need to address the foundation of all these issues. Because when somebody is committing a crime, is not, or she is not thinking of the consequences, is dealing with a problem that has already is in front of him, and he will not think of the consequences. To them it doesn't matter. That's why some of them, they kill, and they kill themselves subsequent. Because they don't see any value of life. Because issues of passion, they are so strong. It is not about resources. If we are struggling about who will take this desk, it is easy because we can divide, or we can sell and divide the proceeds. But when it is something about belief, it is very hard to resolve. And therefore, we need to look at this thing from both sides, that, okay, what is the punishment and how can we address the problem in society so that it doesn't occur? Yes. You can take Kamande to jail, you can kill her tomorrow. But there are many Kamandes in society who are willing to die because they are fallen in love with an individual who may not think much of them. Yes,
and I know the two gentlemen didn't get to comment on the issue of crimes of passion, so probably this is your opportunity to do so, because it is growing every day. And if you, I'm so sure, I've not seen any, but I'm so sure if I go through the headlines, I'll encounter one or two where a spouse has killed the other because they disagreed, and there's always that comment, he was cheating on me, or she was cheating on me.
You know, when a judge is reaching to this kind of a judgment, there are several things that they will have looked at. And one of the things they look at is something we call in the legalese, the mens rea. And normally mens rea just means that, did you have the motive? Did you have the intention? Had you planned about this kind of an action for some time? Have you been thinking about it? So is this something that you are actually planning? So that is what judges will normally look at mainly. And then, of course, they will also now look at the other corresponding issue of what we call the actus rea, which is now the action. Have you taken the action? So was there intention, and have you taken the action? Now, you see, sometimes when you look at the issues of passion, you will find that a lot of times someone has just been provoked, and out of that provocation, they kill. So a lot of times you'll find that they do not actually have the issue of the intention, the mens rea. A lot of times you find that it's only the action that took that was there. So in that case, a lot of times the judges will sentence you into they will give you the manslaughter charge, or rather they will find you guilty of manslaughter. So you'll find that this kind of murder is actually reduced to manslaughter at that point. So a lot of times that's one of the defenses, the passion, and such kind of, that is a defense that is usually used. So by the time a judge then is reaching to this kind of a judgment, it means this issue was actually beyond just the issue of passion. It was beyond. and so you would find maybe there has been something consistent. Probably there's even an issue of business. You never know. Yes. There's probably even an issue of some loot somewhere this lady would have been going for. So I would say that if you kill, really, it doesn't matter whether it is passion. The judges will be able to separate wheat from chaff, and they will be able to know, did you kill because of provocation, did you kill because you intended to do so, and the judges will be able to balance that.
Yes.
But all in all, we are having very many cases of that provocation in our country today through issues of love and what now we call the passion. I think it's something that people really will need to tone down and know that we cannot equate life to this kind of actions that people are taking. And if you actually read here, you'll find in this story there are just so many cases these days. Every other day when you wake up.
And even the High Court judge, Jessie Lesit, actually mentioned it, and she said, quote, "I want young people to know that it is not cool to kill your boyfriend or girlfriend due to frustrations in a relationship. It is cool to walk away instead." That's just her realization of how big a problem is in the country.
I think for me, I want to treat murder as murder. There are various forms of murder where in politics you find there's organized murder. Some people are told to go and kill so and so, and I'm sure they will end up in court, and such sentencing will prevail. So in a nutshell, my view is that let us treat murder as murder, whether it is out of love, whether it is out of passion, whether it is organized, whether it is political. Let Kenyans know that if you murder, if you take away somebody's life, you cannot escape. That you cannot say that you will be given life sentencing and you will be somewhere waiting to be pardoned. That should not be the case. Let murder be paid by murder. That, I think, is what I would like to say in conclusion.
Okay. I think finally, allow me to say something about the family courts, and I think it's something we must learn from I would say the Muslims, that it is very easy to actually be divorced. In this country, there are divorces that take 20 years.
Do you think that contributes to the problem?
No, I'm just saying that we must also make the laws easier. Let me tell you, because
make it easier for someone to walk away.
Yeah, for someone to walk away, even legally. That if you feel it's not working, you can easily walk away and not be frustrated by someone who refuses to sign your divorce papers. We must make it easier so that these things can also be prevented. That if you feel it's not working, really, we try all the other ways of mediation, culturally, or whatever we need to do, but legally, let us not make divorces painful.
Yes.
Like you wait 10 years to get that divorce. In the Muslim culture, they easily get talaka.
Yes.
You can do it like in a day like this. And I think we must make it easier, especially for couples to just, if it's not working, you've tried everything, let it be easy to walk away. Otherwise, you become poisonous, you become something else. Even in your it becomes toxic.
Yes.
Yeah.
But allow me to put you on the spot, because you're the most senior on this panel, because it's a societal problem, and you've seen more life than all of us probably have. How can this issue be approached? Because we've all said, yes, it's a problem, we just need to tone down. But that's not really probably the solution. What do you think we should do as a society?
We are a society in transition. We are not Kikuyus, we are not Kalenjis, we are not Luos, we are not Luyas, and we are not Mzungus. So we are in society in transition, and we are trying to sort of web some national culture. And this is what is really fixing us, because laws cannot fix everything. Even if you are to make all the laws and even make it easy to divorce or do all these things, still the society is the same society that is reflective of our attitudes. And therefore, what we need to do is to think seriously about society. Some of these issues, whether it is corruption, whether it is issues of murder, it is the question that society is a society on transition, and we do not respect each other. Yeah, because the community where I come from, most of these things could be dealt with by elders in such a way that everybody knew, when I'm aggrieved, there is a way my problem can be solved. Today, you go to a court of law, too complicated. The lawyer here will take a lot of money from a poor lady who wants to divorce me, and she doesn't have the money. Now, subsequent to that, people get frustrated. And they overstay in a relationship that they no longer value. And that creates a lot of toxic feelings. And that is what precipitates issues of murder.
So you do agree with that?
I agree with her.
That we should probably make it easier for people to walk away from toxic relationships.
Easier and also predictable. When society is not predictable, it's dangerous. Because somebody crops in the dark. They have 10 children or 3 children or 4 children to take care of. The man has run away with another woman and doing funny things, and therefore at the end of the day this lady is frustrated. Or the other way around, the lady is taken away by my neighbor, and you feel, what will I do?
Yes.
You cannot easily divorce her because
it
she has higher connections.
We've actually given death, we actually view death as probably the easier way out, that if I kill this spouse,
if I don't have you, nobody has
we
you.
become punitive.
Yes.
Because we become punitive and we become lynchmen. That I maintain, because we think our problems can be solved by me taking the law into my hands, because the law is too complicated. This is British law. It is not organic to the wishes of Kenyan society.
Wow, those are just some of the issues that are coming up on the backdrop of this headline, where Ruth Kamande, Miss Langata prison winner 2016, was sentenced to death for killing her boyfriend back in 2015. Issues to do with whether or not the death penalty should still be in our laws, and the issues to do with crimes of passion. What is a problem that this society of ours is facing, because now we're seeing more and more such cases cropping up. Time for us to take a break, but when we come back, we change the discussion to what is happening in the Mau. The eviction of over 5,000 people from Mau Forest has taken a political twist, with a group of Rift Valley MPs claiming the move is aimed at scuttling Deputy President William Ruto's 2022 bid. We'll be looking at that after the break.